When non-gamers think of video games, they probably think it's just a useless hobby to pass the time. Oh, la-di-da. Gamers, however, know that's not the case. From improving hand-eye coordination to instilling a sense of accomplishment, video games often teach players valuable lessons that they can use outside of video games. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to The Gamer and ring that bell to stay up to date with all things gaming. Without further ado, here are 10 essential life skills only gamers possess. Patience. Gamers are usually portrayed as salty, foul-mouthed people with chips on their shoulders and an attitude problem. Hey, who are you calling foul-mouthed? While the stereotype does exist because, let's face it, some gamers aren't the friendliest, not every gamer is like that. In fact, video games do teach players to have an unrivaled amount of patience. Think about it for just a second. Not only do most video games have a decent amount of grinding involved in order to get ahead in the game, but nearly every game on the market has at least one ridiculously frustrating level to complete. The Legend of Zelda or Ocarina of Time's Water Temple, anyone? Yeah, we remember that too. Ugh. Sure, we've all wanted to throw our controllers out the window on occasion. Cuphead, anyone? Also, who doesn't get frustrated when their inevitable win gets ruined by lag? For the most part, however, we don't give in to the anger. Instead, most gamers take a deep breath, rethink their game plan, and try again. With grinding, some non-gamers may get easily bored with performing the same repetitive tasks over and over again. For gamers, it's just one piece of the puzzle needed in order to gain victory. Whether it's fighting endless low-level enemies in order to level up for the big fight, or completing the same level multiple times in order to get better loot, gamers will easily wait it out and do whatever necessary to get the win. Resource management. We've all seen action movies where, beyond all reason, the hero manages to fire at least 1,000 bullets from their 6-chambered revolver. Pew, 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 pew. Everyone knows that managing one's resources is very important when it comes to playing video games. Nobody wants to be all in on a fight with a dragon in Skyrim, only to find themselves without a potion of healing. On the flip side, no one wants to defeat said dragon and have no room in their inventory, leaving them no choice but to abandon their spoils of battle. Overcumbered again? No! There's a fine line when it comes to resource management in video games, and for the most part, the vast majority of gamers have mastered the art of hoarding a loot stash. There are, of course, 2 stashes typically. The one you must carry on you at all times, lest ye die. Then there's the stash of possibilities left at the homestead back in Whiterun. Alright, so maybe some gamers took the loot hoarding a little too far in real life. We can't account for every gamer and their habits, but for the most part, learning to ration and use loot and items wisely in video games will translate to the real-world skill of learning to plan ahead. Try looking at your grocery list like a loot registry next time you have to go grocery shopping. Wait, you guys don't sell Nuka-Colas? Planning. Everyone knows you can't rush into battle without a plan of action. Sure, there are some gamers who love to scream, "Leroy Jenkins!" before heading into battle without the rest of their party. Ugh. God damn it, Leroy. Of course, they usually either meet their untimely death or completely ruin the battle for everyone else involved. Plans are not only advisable, but they help keep team members on the same page so everyone is carrying their own weight and acting as a responsible member of their party. While proceeding without a plan of action in a video game battle may not be as deadly as it would be in real life, it's still necessary. Think about all the time spent battling bosses, progressing through levels, and gathering loot, which would be all for naught if a player didn't plan ahead. Superior planning skills in a video game environment can be the difference between a defeat and an easy victory. Of course, learning to plan out a battle or a course of action in a video game can easily transfer to other aspects of a player's life. While the repercussions of a failed plan in a video game simply equals hours of gameplay lost, learning how to hone plans in a virtual environment can help gamers learn to plan better in real life. Hey, it certainly can't hurt. Perseverance. As gamers, we've all faced our fair share of infuriating levels and bosses. On the road to victory, there are no easy outs. Okay, unless you have a game genie or cheat codes to plug in to bypass a certain boss. Either way, gamers will still have to put in work to beat a game, and there are levels and bosses which seem downright impossible. If you've ever played Contra, you know exactly what we mean. However, where casual gamers may give up after a handful of attempts, there are the hardcore gamers who will never quit until they win. This is exactly where gamers' patience comes into play as well. Not only does that level of patience transfer over into real life, but it also gives players the confidence to carry on through difficult levels, even when they're being beaten down. Every gamer has, in their gaming lifetime, encountered at least one difficult moment in a video game. The can-do attitude built from attempting the same boss battle over and over again will easily transfer over to real-world situations as well. Due to gamers' resilience, they should be able to easily adapt to changes in order to overcome any adversity they may encounter. If they don't manage to get past it the first time, they will try and try again. team player. With the advent of online gaming and online video game communities, the days of single-player only games are basically gone. In fact, there are hardly any couch co-op games on the market as well, which means most gamers will have to make friends online and play with gamers they don't exactly know all that well. Now let's get along, everybody. It is, however, a great opportunity to make new friends. For the most part, making gaming friends online is easy and works out well. Since everyone's playing the same game, everyone has the same goal in mind: winning. As with every game, there are only so many ways players can win a game, so everyone has to be on the same page in order to secure their victory. On the same note, not every player you run across online will be in it to win it. Maybe they're salty from previous losses, or perhaps they have their own set of ideas on how to win a game, or perhaps they're just jerks. Either way, you may occasionally run into verbally combative players whose sole mission seems to be to destroy the camaraderie on their online team. Fortunately, a lot of gamers know how to deal with such a person, and can easily carry their team to victory in spite of having to game with a bad apple. In fact, some players are so skilled at being a team player, they can turn the saltiest gamer around and lead their team to victory, or just mute them and carry on with their gaming session. If only you could do that in real life, huh? Morality. For the most part, the number one thing most people complain about when it comes to video games is the violence and lack of morality. If a person has not experienced video games for themselves, they might get the wrong impression of them from the news. The news. Sure, there are a lot of video games which include violence in their gameplay. We'd be lying if we didn't acknowledge the prevalent violence in video games as a selling point for entertainment. Of course, it is virtual, so there are no real-world repercussions. Learn the difference between fantasy and real life, folks. However, what most non-gamers don't see is that while there is violence in video games, it's not always allowed to run rampant. The exceptions to this being video games which are solely about violence. Games we won't mention here due to their graphic nature. For the most part, violence is not always justified, and in some cases, it is even punished in video games. Players can easily learn morality lessons from video games when it comes to games which punish players for their decisions. In some games, violent or criminal acts will land a player in jail. In other games, wrongful decisions can affect how the game ultimately plays out. These lessons in morality can transfer over to real-world situations where gamers can recall how their actions affected previous outcomes and help them become a better person. Now to level up my speech skill. Mental prowess. There are, of course, a lot of video games created specifically to assist in building brain function and memory. Brain Age is one such game that comes to mind when considering educational games. The most educational games are somewhat fun for a period of time, but overall, they don't hold a lot of entertainment value and players generally grow bored with them, no matter how much they're helping them learn. It might surprise some people that playing video games can improve mental prowess. Solving puzzles and engaging with a virtual world helps keep players' brains sharp, and educational games are a tool to meet the goal. But regular video games are just as good at helping keep players mentally sharp as well. It's just about keeping your brain active and teaching yourself new things. While all video games may not be educational, most of them are in one way or another. For example, Tetris can help with pattern recognition. The Mario franchise could help with problem solving, especially when it comes to figuring out how to find those secret levels. Where are the warp whistles? Even figuring out how to rob the bard in the Bannered Mare is training your brain to solve problems and anticipate outcomes. Every game has something to offer, and the most important part of keeping your brain trained is keeping it active and thinking. Building and design. A lot of parents have expressed concerns with children playing too much Minecraft or Roblox, and for good reason. Parents are often warned against allowing their children to have too much screen time. Depending on what a child is playing or watching, they may not be learning anything of value. Did someone say Logan Paul? It makes perfect sense that parents would want to make sure their children are not melting their brains with mind-numbing entertainment. However, kid and adult gamers alike can learn a lot from games like Minecraft and Roblox. In Minecraft, players have to build a shelter before nightfall when a creeper will inevitably blow them to bits. This not only entails planning in advance, but learning to build an appropriate shelter which can withstand a creeper attack takes some skill. The same goes for Roblox, where players can create their own games and clothing, which does take some skill. While it may seem like simply playing a video game, there is an element of thought which can go into building a structure in any video game. A small understanding of game physics has to be present in order for structures and games to work appropriately. This means players have to pay attention to the virtual world and how things interact with each other. It's easy to see how an interest in building and design could easily transfer over to the real world. Minecraft build and architects one block at a time. Empathy. Video games allow players to step into the shoes of someone else. Whether it's being a dragon slayer in the middle of a civil war, or trying to save a princess who always seems to be in another castle, video games allow players to experience a life other than their own. Players not only take on the role of being someone else, they also end up taking on their character's problems and living in their world. It means that players will inevitably meet new characters and come across new lands with different customs than their own. own. As we all know, acting appropriately in virtual worlds can make or break a game. No player wants to accidentally murder an NPC who is supposed to assist them later, and in doing so, turn an entire village against them. While some video games are all about the mindless violence for fun, others definitely punish gamers for acting inappropriately. Depending on the game, it really makes players think about their actions. In doing so, players can also run across instances in which they'll have to practice empathy. We know it's hard not to light the entire village on fire, but in the long run, it's for the best. Put down the torch. Other times, players will be met with situations where they must choose a side, and their own sense of morality comes into play. No matter the game, taking the time to roleplay as someone else is a great exercise in empathy. Stress relief. We all know that video games are entertainment. They help people relax and help people explore imaginary worlds. They take people away from their humdrum, mundane lives and gives them a new experience. Whether it's riding horses in the Wild West or gunning down a rival gang, video games give people the ability to step outside of themselves. Video games can be a great stress reliever, especially since any missteps can easily be forgotten or even reset. It's like a cheaper version of a vacation without having to leave the house and finding someone to look after your dog. Sure, there are other hobbies available to de-stress with, but is there anything as relaxing as running down a guy after being chewed out from your boss earlier in the day? If anything, gamers know how to relax better than anyone else. They've found ways to experience 100 different lifetimes without suffering from any of the consequences of said lifetimes. They can play fun games where the entire goal is to simply finish a race. They can play serious games with dramatic undertones and experience a life of crime without the criminal record. Gamers, above all, know how to relax, and they have numerous options available in order to help them relieve stress. So next time you're stressed, ask a gamer for their video game recommendations, and maybe they can teach you a thing or two about how to de-stress. What's the best skill you've picked up from playing a video game? What other skills should have been included in this list? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer so you can keep up to date with all our videos. Thanks for watching.